So here's what happened. 5 years ago, I wrote an article that explained in length about why I don't make videos about indie comics. I laid out all my reasons and arguments against making videos about superhero comics that weren't published by Marvel or DC, and anytime someone asked me to cover a specific comic book that was published by Image or Valiant or some other company, I would simply link them to that article, spelling out exactly why I don't do that and why I'm not going to do that. And at the very top of that article, the bright yellow and blue cover image was and still is Invincible. And boy, I sure do look like a clown now, huh? Invincible is a comic series written by Robert Kirkman, illustrated by Cory Walker and Ryan Ottley, first published in 2003, and is currently being adapted into a cartoon series of the same name. It centers around Mark Grayson, a teenage superhero whose alias is the title of the series.
You might as well give up.
Mark's father is Omni-Man, an alien from an advanced and distant world. He's a sort of Superman stand-in who's seen as the most powerful and beloved superhero on the planet. Now, on the surface, this comic and the hit cartoon that spawned from it play out exactly in the way you'd probably expect at the start. It's a fun, colorful superhero outing with a focus on teen heroes juggling their personal lives with their superhero responsibilities, while also not being recognized as particularly impressive compared to the adult heroes.
I even follow Teen Team on Instagram.
That's us, everyone's fourth favorite superhero team.
It's very much got a Young Justice vibe in that regard. It especially rings true with Mark, who is struggling with the weight of living up to his dad's legacy.
It's all I ever wanted for as long as I can remember. I want to do what you do. I want to be just like you.
But it's also incredibly funny with wacky villains and charming side characters. Alan the Alien is the best.
Request from Urath for evaluation.
Urath? This is Earth!
Earth.
The animation in the show is bright and vibrant and reminiscent of early 2000s family-friendly superhero cartoons. I personally got a lot of Static Shock vibes from it. Everything about the show is designed to lure you in and make you think it's just gonna be a classic, lighthearted superhero delight. And if you haven't read the comics or watched the show yet, now would be a really good time to pause and go watch the first season on Amazon. Really just the first episode. You'll be hooked from that point on, I promise. But there's gonna be some spoilers sprinkled throughout the rest of this video. But again, just give it one episode, you're gonna be hooked. Because throughout the first episode, the wholesome tone of the show starts to crack. The opening fight sequence with the Muller twins shows you the level of brutality that you think you should expect from this show. A guard shoots out one of the twins' eyes, but it's never shown in detail and there's only a few drops of blood. That's not bad. I mean, even Young Justice had some of that here and there. And the rest of the episode continues on from there, pretty straightforwardly with what you might expect from this particular style. The title card plays triumphantly and you think, okay, yeah, that's pretty decent. Nothing I haven't seen before in this genre, but wait, the episode keeps going. That's odd. I guess Omni-Man is gonna have a talk with the Guardians of the Globe. They're kind of like the Justice League stand-ins for this universe, and it looks like he's what's he doing? Yeah, it's a lot. It's a process. Invincible as a show plays the viewer, setting up a wide cast of likable characters and then establishing early on what could happen to any one of them in an instant adds a ton of tension to the story. Suddenly, this series that's coded as a comfortable superhero adventure cartoon that you might be familiar with takes a spectacular turn in a decidedly more unfamiliar and uncomfortable direction. It's rad. But it's not just rad because blood and gore is cool. If you've watched my essay about the violence in Logan, you know that I'm a big fan of superhero stories that use extreme gore to show how violence is bad. Actually. The Boys, another Amazon superhero series adapted from a comic that features an evil Superman figure. Wow, we have so many evil Supermen. I really wish we had a good one, but oh well. It also has graphic violence. But from moment one, the tone of the show, from the dark and desaturated color grading to the fact that it's even live action, makes the gore feel kind of at home. There are still shocking and intense moments, of course, but Invincible being a cartoon with a similar bright and vibrant visual style to many superhero animated series that I grew up watching makes the gore in this show even more shocking and intense, to be honest. Even if it's not like photorealistic. You know, it's just kind of like lines. Just like a lot of red. And it's not for everyone, obviously. It can be a bit much sometimes, straddling the line between thematic and just plain gratuitous. But I think it mostly lands on the purposeful side, to juxtapose human lives with superhero lives, and to frame how we should view those with power who care about those without, compared to those with power who simply want to rule everyone they see as beneath them. And I should mention that the comics play into this tone shift as well. The entire first volume of Invincible is just a generic superhero coming of age story. Don't get me wrong, it's good, it's a fun read for sure, but it does feel a little cookie cutter, nothing too special. You read volume 1 and you think, yeah, all right, that's fine, maybe I'll stick around, see what the next issues are about. Not too committed though. And then you pick up volume 2 and you're like, yeah, okay, this is more of the same. What the fuck? A masterpiece in subverting expectations. So good. So good, in fact, that I'm here 5 years after writing that article that I mentioned earlier, saying that I'll never make videos about indie comics, making a video about Invincible. Or am I? Perhaps your expectations about this video are about to be subverted, for this is no standard video essay about a comic or cartoon, but in fact, it is a video essay about me, as all the best video essays are. Okay, for real though, I want to have a conversation with you about YouTube, about content, about this article that I wrote, and at the very end, when I make it overly personal and have the screen go black and white and play sad music, I promise I will actually tie it back into Invincible. All right? You have my word. Just stick with me. That's why I'm sitting down for this video. I wanted to have kind of like a chill vibe sort of thing going on. Maybe we can even change the color of the room real quick. How's that? Is that good or bad? Ooh, we can, it's a little too saturated. Is this good? Is this, I'll change it back. So this is a post that I wrote back in 2016 when this channel was popping. My videos were getting hundreds of thousands of views consistently every upload. And I actually had a schedule that I stuck to of at least one video per week, sometimes more. And very likely it's the era of the channel where a lot of you found me, found NerdSync. And I've been disappointing you ever since. At the time, I made videos almost exclusively about Marvel and DC comics, and inevitably people would complain that I didn't talk enough about indie comics. So instead of typing in the same replies on hundreds of thousands of comments, I wrote up this article to link to people, explaining how I pick topics to make videos about. I think it was even my pinned tweet for a while over on Twitter. Someone had pointed that out recently. As we will see, it is comical how my mentality about making YouTube videos has changed over the years. I don't talk about Marvel and DC as much as you think. Yeah, no, that part still holds true. More so today than ever, I think. So the first part of this essay is basically me, by the way, I'll have this linked below. It's basically me explaining how I make a lot of videos just about the history of the comic book industry, rather than individual Marvel or DC characters, but obviously the character-centric ones perform way better. There's a reason why I had to pretend like this video was about the Teen Titans, even though it was actually about the tensions that Jim Shooter caused at Marvel Comics. At the very least, that video did bless me with a reason to buy all of those nameplates. So that's good. Let's see, I also talk about how I plan videos based on the story I want to tell, regardless of the publisher. There's a quote here about how, like, I'm not gonna go out of my way to do a video about Dark Horse or Image just because it feels overdue. And yeah, that part is more true than ever since I have started branching out into topics that have nothing to do with comics or superheroes. I experimented a lot in 2020 talking about Scooby-Doo and musicals and Dungeons and Dragons, and of course, Bob Ross Ross. And then I think I had like one video about a superhero movie in there somewhere along the way. Obviously that one performed better than most of the other videos I did last year because it's the kind of content that you are all used to. I also obviously released my videos sporadically last year with no rhyme or reason, so that probably didn't help anything either. That's why this year I have a system in place. New videos every other week. They go up a full week early on Patreon, and we're back on, you know, the superhero focus that you guys like. For every 2 to 3 videos that I talk about comics and superheroes, though, I do want to make one video that's about a totally radically different subject, if you will indulge me. Some of the stuff on the list this year are like movie aspect ratios, Studio Ghibli films, obviously I've teased that for a while, more Scooby-Doo, you guys seem to like that one, and maybe even stuff about video games. I don't know yet, I'm not a capital G gamer, but I've got thoughts, I've got opinions. We'll see. Oh, I also want to make a Danny Phantom video this year. I don't know why. Like, I liked the show a ton growing up, but I also just want an excuse to make fun of Butch Hartman a little bit, because he's been doing all kinds of wild and questionable stuff for the past couple of years. That man is... There's a lot to talk about there. Anyway, the gist of this segment in the article is one that I still agree with. I only ever want to make videos that I'm passionate about and genuinely interested in. And, you know, I love comics and superheroes. I always will. I've loved them since I was a kid, and we had a family friend who got me into them. That content isn't going anywhere. I'm still gonna make stuff about superheroes. It's just that my passions have also expanded over time to include different things that I want to share with y'all. If you'll let me. Please let me do that. The remainder of this article is the stuff that has aged the worst. I talk about how I don't like spending lots of time setting up a video's topic. I want to just, you know, jump right into the content. If I have to explain who a character is before I get to the meat of a video, well, that just wastes a lot of time. So it's more streamlined to use well-known characters that I don't have to introduce, like Batman and Superman and Spider-Man. Everyone knows who those characters are, so I don't have to waste my time with context. Yeah, so that's not so much my mentality anymore, obviously. Somehow I have become incapable of writing a short video these days. I guarantee you this one's gonna be at least 20 minutes long somehow. I think the issue is that when I'm really hooked on a subject matter, I just wanna tell you guys like everything about it from every single angle. Matthews Kostecki on Twitter, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, ran the numbers on my latest video about the Captain America cartoon and found that it was nearly 57% context versus 40% actual content about the cartoon. And that's why we have these shirts available at nerdsyncstore.com. I mean, even for this video, right? I still had to spend some time at the start to explain what and who Invincible is, just in case you weren't aware. So I clearly have less of a problem doing that these days than when I wrote this article. I would say the biggest difference between back then when I wrote this article and today is how I would interpret this line. I can't continue with a video unless everyone is on the same page. So back then, that meant that if I have to devote half of the video to fill people in on a subject before I talk about it, then it's a non-starter. Today, it means if I can't talk about historical context for at least half the video, then is it even a video worth making? Genuinely though, the reason that I do it is because context is like the most fun part to me. And I hope you can tell how much fun I have talking about it. I think it's also partly because I still want NerdSync to be somewhat educational, so throwing in a lot of history and culture analysis is my way of doing that these days. In the past, I'd make a video about like the science of Ant-Man or whatever, but these days, if I want to make jokes about a Captain America cartoon, then I feel like I have to include a ton of historical context to pass it off as somewhat informative. Plus, again, it really is fun for me. This is a good section. I bet you're greedy for those views, huh? Yeah, I definitely was back then. This essay tries to dance around it, but the not so secret truth is that I was always chasing views on YouTube because it has been my only job for the better half of a decade, and it's scary to have your whole livelihood tied to an ever-changing algorithm that you need to please if you want to eat this week. This was written in 2016, and by 2017, I was almost exclusively rushing out terrible videos that I am not proud of because I needed rent money. Today, I'm in a much more stable place thanks to the people who support me on Patreon, and thanks obviously to the Super Carlin brothers who bought my channel back in 2019 and made my income way more stable, so I don't have to put out garbage videos just to stay alive. That being said, NerdSync still isn't a super profitable business currently, so that's why I've been pushing Patreon really hard this year, trying to get 2,000 patrons, which I know is a ton, but wow, it would really mean so much to me. It would take that final bit of stress off of my shoulders to know that we can keep this channel rolling forward while I continue to make whatever it is that I want to make, which has always been the goal, I guess. Yes, here's some bolded text in this article that rings much more true today than it did back then when I wrote it. I don't make videos for views. If you haven't noticed, the views on this channel are not exactly what they used to be. Now, I don't ever want to go back to the 2017 era of making shitty videos just to skate by. So if you are still here watching me yell about the things that I like or dislike, then I want you to know that I really appreciate you, and I hope we can keep this going for as long as possible, because I don't know what else to do with my life. And it's also just fun. I have fun doing this. This is a fun job that I get to do because of you. You're just making excuses. You're clearly a Marvel and or DC fanboy. Okay. So this is the part of the video where we tie it all back into Invincible, just like I promised. In this final section of the article, I wrote about how, I write what I know. And what I know is a lot of Marvel and DC stuff. You see, I love superhero stories in all forms. Comics, cartoons, movies, games. I love them from Marvel and DC and all others. I loved the 90s Spider-Man cartoon. I couldn't stop watching Static Shock. Up and Away was my favorite DCOM for years, and I'm still scared to revisit it because I don't want it to be bad, I guess. Also, have I mentioned Danny Phantom? I was obsessed with it growing up. But the reason why I latched onto these kinds of stories so quickly and so fervently is because I had a mentor growing up who was a big, giant comic book nerd. You remember earlier when I mentioned that a family friend got me into comics? Yeah, this is that guy. He taught me a ton about comic books, especially Spider-Man. He let me read his giant Spider-Man collection of comics, and we watched the Raimi Spider-Man movies constantly. Growing up, heck, even as far into my adult life as this article, I wrote that my favorite superhero was Spider-Man because of this guy. I looked up to him. He showed me this fantastic world of capes and cowls that changed my life forever, and put me on the path to be right here in front of this camera for you. And he just seemed like the coolest guy in the world to me when I was little. The way that Mark looks up to his dad in Invincible is exactly the way that I felt towards my mentor. More than anything, I wanted to be like him. And then one day, my parents stopped being friendly with him until he was quickly out of our lives entirely. I took it really hard. I was still in elementary school. I didn't understand why my folks made the decision they did, but all I knew is that I wouldn't be able to see this guy that I looked up to anymore. I got upset with my mom a lot over this. Don't recall a lot of great memories from that time. Over the years, this family friend would try to stay in touch, but communication became more and more infrequent. Occasionally, he'd text and we'd talk about comics for a bit, but it wasn't quite like how I remembered it as a kid. A funny thing happens when you grow older. All of those unwavering positive opinions that you hold of people start to shake a bit. Especially when I learned the reasons why my parents distanced themselves from this guy. reasons that I couldn't understand as a kid, reasons my mom didn't want to tell me because she knew how much I idolized this guy who absolutely did not deserve any kind of adoration. That relationship changed in my head in an instant. I modeled so much of my personality after this guy growing up. More than anything, I wanted to be like him, and now my biggest fear to this day is that I might end up like him. Now, obviously, this guy who is in my life wasn't some sort of murderous tyrant like Omni-Man. It feels silly to even make those comparisons, but at the heart of Invincible is a story about a kid who aspired to be like someone they cared about because they just thought the world of them. And upon growing up, suddenly and dramatically having to come to terms with the realization that their hero is anything but a hero. And that brought up a lot of difficult memories for me. But it also makes me extremely appreciative of the family and friends that I do still have in my life. The people who fill my life with laughter and joy, who indulge me when I obsess over niche subjects. You know, Emily's family is adorable. They got me lots of little Bob Ross and Scooby-Doo things over last year just because it's all I talked about when I was working on those enormous video projects, and that was incredibly sweet. We don't get much say in how we're raised or the people we're raised around. So if you, like me, struggle with seeing parts of yourself that remind you of someone who shaped you, someone that you don't want to become, then I want to assure you, you are not them. Also, therapy helps. Would recommend therapy if you can. That's where I'm gonna be taking all this baggage later today. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to like it and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. All of my videos, as I said, are up a week early on Patreon, ad-free, and occasionally with bonus content. It would mean a lot if you supported me on Patreon. Just like Amanda Trisdale, Christopher Lang, Donna Bark, Edwin Latour, Eric Totora Pato, Everett Parrott, Havelock Smiggles, Jonathan and Megan Pearson, Jonathan Lanowski, and the rest of the wonderful nerds who support me over at patreon.com/NerdSync. As I said, I'm trying to hit 2,000 patrons this year to keep making cool things on this channel, hopefully stuff that is a little bit more upbeat than this video. The link is in the description if you want to check it out. Thank you so much. If for some reason you want to watch more extremely personal videos like this, I've recently assembled all of the videos where I overshare about my life into a convenient playlist. That's content for ya. Or click or tap right here to see something YouTube's algorithm recommends. Until next time, my name is Scott, reminding you to read between the panels and grow smarter through comics. See ya.